API with the Embassy of Denmark on unlocking the potential of carbon markets in Pakistan. And just to again, how today's schedule is that we'll initially sort of start with a bit of a recap on what has been discussed yesterday, because yesterday we talked about the main a bit of the basics of the carbon markets, the carbon market policy guidelines that were issued by the Ministry of Climate Change. But the main focus was on explaining everyone what are the registries, how a registry is established, what is the process of getting any project registered within these. And particularly, we had a very dedicated focus on the use of Readiness methodology. We actually had the colleagues joining us from Vera as well. So yeah, I believe, and for today, main focus for us is going to actually be on the monitoring, reporting, verification, that is the MRV systems in the context of carbon markets. And we're very pleased to have been joined with us. He'll be joining us very shortly. That is Dr. Irfan Yusuf. And Dr. Irfan Yusuf, many of you would know him. Dr. Irfan Yusuf is a consultant at the World Bank as well as UNDP, and is one of the very key individuals to work around the Article 6 and carbon markets in Pakistan. So he'll be joining very shortly. But before that, just to sort of give a bit of a context, and very pleased to have with us, Dr. Irfan has finally. Thank you so much, Dr. Irfan, for joining us. So I was just giving a very quick recap of the discussion that happened yesterday. So what we did, since you're here, so just to very quickly brief you as well. What we did, the way we started yesterday was that we initiated with a bit of the discussion around the basics of carbon markets, but then we delved into a bit of the details around what the carbon market policy guidelines of Pakistan are, what are the steps that have been defined. But a main focus for yesterday was on the registries, where we were joined by the people from Vera, from Resources Future. So we had deep dive into the overall registry process as well. So for today, our focus is basically more tilted towards the MRV systems in the context of carbon markets. And I was just introducing you to the colleagues and the people sitting over here, and also just to sort of give you an introduction or a very brief overview of the people joining us. Yesterday, we had almost roughly 70 industries and private sectors joining us, along with other colleagues. As of now, most of them have joined us, and they'll be joining us as the session goes as well. But before officially coming to the debate on MRV systems, Dr. Irfan, some of the points that, because there were very good cross discussion between the participant as well as the experts, a couple of questions that did came continuously yesterday was on two fronts. One is that perhaps, and we would also like to hear if you would like to sort of respond to any of those as well before we go into the MRVs. That is, where does now the renewable energy projects stand in the context of carbon markets? Because a lot of the industries yesterday talked about they're sort of thinking of installing new solar PV projects. They're thinking of converting to the biomass projects. Some were even going for the wind. But I mean, since you're the expert, you would know that getting the renewable energy projects into the carbon markets as of now is a bit challenges as opposed to what it used to be a bit previously. I mean, since the renewable energy cost has decreased and bringing that component of additionality, that has actually become very challenging. So if you have anything to add on this point. And secondly, some of the experts also sort of wanted us to explain in perhaps a bit more detail that if any organization or a project in Pakistan does not want to go through the channel, Article 6 channel, I mean, they want to go directly or engage directly within the VCM market with any of these registries. So what is the process? Because again, the process that is through the Article 6 is now clear since the ministry has issued the draft guidelines. But what would the process in the other case look like? So just before, continuing with the discussion on the MRV, if you can just sort of slightly give your perspective on these questions, and then we'll move towards the MRVs. So yeah, thank you so much once again, Dr.
No, thank you. Actually, first of all, my apologies for being a little late. There is another hat that I'm currently having is basically supporting MOCC through UNDP platform for NBC3. So there was a meeting there going on, and I got delayed in that meeting. So first of all, my apologies. Now, getting back to these questions, the number one, renewable energies. There are two associated uh, things with the renewable power. Number one, Upad, you already have highlighted the cost numbers, and due to this cost matters, and since the technology is so uh, easy to comprehend and install, now it's had become a business as usual. So most of the standards they have been qualifying that wind and solar both, if they are connected as commercial power plants, whose sizes are more beyond 15 megawatt particularly, then these are not eligible to participate in VERA and gold standard. Whereas the Global Climate Council GCC standard, it still um, accepts the new projects for wind and solar. However, the other stream is that the prices of credits for renewable power is again very low, because demand side is also very conducive. We need to look at how the demand is looking at. So demand side for renewable power credits is not very enough. Reason being, they say that for a commercial power plant, uh, these credits are not of high quality credits. And we have to understand what is the definition of the high quality credit. Unfortunately or fortunately, our investors, they have been a bit delayed in comprehending these technological advances and developments that's continuously happening. There are a lot of things, new things which are coming across. If you go by the decisions that were taken in COP29, um, they acknowledge the nature-based solutions for the carbon markets. They qualify for Article 6.4. However, there's still some debates with regards to those projects which are being commissioned for avoidance purposes. And the pertinent decision has to be taken by 2028. The decision will be made at that time. Due to these kind of a vaguenesses, these 2-3 elements, the renewable power credits are not the first choice of the buyers. Since the choice is not there, then of course the supply demand gap issue which is coming across, and because of that they don't find good buyers for good price if in case it's the projects get registered. Where and gold standard, this straightforwardly are saying that these are business as usual projects. However, those projects which are installed for community purposes and their size is less than 15 megawatt cumulative, and like if somebody is installing microgrids, solar home solutions for community, for energy access in remote education systems or health systems, these can be combined and taken to the market, and these projects can still go for registration under the VERA and gold standard. However, a commercial project cannot go for carbon market under GCC and the VERA and gold standard. The particular reason for that is that when a power plant which is connected to the grid is supplying electricity under specific energy purchase agreement backed by sovereign guarantees and a guaranteed IRR of plus 10%, that leaves no additionality cushion. And because of that, since there is no additionality that can be proven because of carbon market, these standards are saying that these projects are not conducive and not viable for the carbon markets, and they are not registering their projects. So this is we need to be very careful when we design the project. Those entities those investors who are willing to put up the solar power plants, they need to look at the business model, the social side of this overall perspective, and see how the community-based projects can be taken forward. If these are community-based projects, just supporting some communities uplift in their co-benefits, then those projects can still be registered. The timing of registration is very important. If your project is at infancy stage, then this is the right time to start the project development for the carbon market. However, if the project is matured already, then they are less likely that these projects will be registered in the carbon market, because if the transaction is already matured, that means the additionality approval or finding any additionality in that transaction will be a difficult perspective. So whosoever is looking for a project for the carbon market, it would be best an ideal situation that when you conceive the project, you conceive it as a carbon market project. However, if you have already done feasibility studies, you still have a chance to relook at the feasibility studies and design these projects based on the carbon market mechanisms. So this is basically the overall or mechanism going on. Another thing which need to be I think should be clarified, that whatever the restrictions we are talking about is basically with regards to solar and wind projects. These are grid connected power projects, and we are not talking about any other solar or wind energy applications that could be solar passive applications in the green buildings, or solar passive applications for heating, for cooling, for any other applications. So these are still considered under the relevant standards and methodologies, and they can be registered for the carbon markets. So I won't say that the market is and for solar and wind. It's still there, and you can qualify for that. For biomass projects and hydropower projects, yes, again, the whole scenario would be that how the market is conducively looking at these technological interventions, and how the market mechanisms are taken into account while designing these projects. Just hold a second. Sorry for the interruption. The project design should look at how the community is being benefited. If you're talking about the biomass, then the biomass collection, its storage, how the methane is captured and stored, and then how it is used for a sustainable manner. So this will come across when you design the project overall. So biomass project can go, hydro projects, particularly for those which are related to community based projects. These are very much welcome still, and they can qualify under any standard. So you can go for the hydropower projects as well. For the innovative technologies like hydrogen storage, hybrid initiatives, these projects still can qualify and you can take forward. However, before going to that, every developer should look at the 10 principles that integrated concept for voluntary carbon market has published, and design the projects in accordance to those 10 principles. The next question which you had asked me is regards to those investors who are trying to build the projects without taking into account the Article 6 mechanisms. First of all, I would like to clarify one thing. The policy guidelines that the government of Pakistan has issued, these are not for Article 6 projects. These are the carbon market projects, which you can say for the voluntary carbon market. For compliance market, the government is still to announce the policy, and for Article 6, they haven't even started any policy mechanisms. Some donors are trying to support government of Pakistan, but this will come across. The whole purpose of these guidelines was that some of the investors, they had approached to various forums that when they were designing their projects and they went into the market, the buyers, the potential buyers of credits of those projects, they started asking for corresponding adjustments. And this is a very typical example of this Delta Blue Carbon, wherein the government of Pakistan transferred the credits and authorize the transfer of the adjustment of these emission reductions to Singapore. This project is not an Article 6 project. This is the voluntary carbon market project. However, since the buyers were requiring the corresponding adjustment, that's why government of Pakistan allowed it the corresponding adjustment and gave it to that. If you read the policy mechanisms, it talks about if you are not requiring corresponding adjustment, you can directly go to the project, you can negotiate the project, you can sign off the carbon credits, and you can sell off the carbon credits at your own. However, in case you are requiring corresponding adjustment for that project, then you have to come back to the government. You have to come back to the Ministry of Climate Change to get the letter of authorization, and that letter of authorization will allow you to have the corresponding adjustment when the first crediting will be, first authorization will be done. So this is I would like to clarify. So whosoever wants to do the project, if this corresponding adjustment is it's not involved, you can directly do the project. However, if the corresponding adjustment is involved, then you have to look at the policy mechanism and follow the processes. Then of course those all fee mechanism will be made applicable. Another question, the supplementary question usually come up across while the project developers, they listen that what is the benefit of this corresponding adjustment, and why the hell the private sector should pay for the fees and all this stuff given the situation in the market conditions. My answer has been to the different communities is that without corresponding adjustments, your credit values remain very low, and to my knowledge, the projects which are not giving corresponding adjustments, their credit transactions have been traded at rate between $2 to $10. However, when the corresponding adjustments involved, the minimum price tag that come across with those projects is around $15. And based upon the quality of project, based upon the innovation that you can bring in, I have seen the projects that have been traded at $120 as well. So this is now being an investor, need to look at and quantify with corresponding adjustment. If you are paying certain fees or allocating certain share of the credits for NDC compliance to the government of Pakistan, but at the same time you are getting a price at least 10 to 15 times more than what you could get without the corresponding adjustment, you need to make up a good financial model and look at what is beneficial for you, whether you need to go for the corresponding without corresponding adjustment. Does that make sense to you, or you avail the corresponding adjustment and get the higher value of your credit? My take would be my point of submission for the government, from what the government of Pakistan thinks of, would be that neither of the project should ask for the corresponding adjustment. Why? Because if the projects do not require corresponding adjustment, then government of Pakistan will be in full liberty to claim that all those emission reductions are because of the actions that the government of Pakistan has taken, and these can be reflected in the NDC of government of Pakistan 100%. Whereas if the government of Pakistan allows and issues a corresponding adjustment, then the government is saying that 88% of those credits are transferred, and Pakistan can only claim 12% out of those. So this is going to be the perspective from the government of Pakistan side, why they would love to not to issue the corresponding adjustments and allowing the market operators, market participants to trade without corresponding adjustments. and this is the interest of the government. Now you have to equate all these things equally and then move to the carbon market. Yeah, Ubaid, I think I answered both the questions.
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Irfan, for especially providing that clarity around what the corresponding adjustments and how they need to sort of engage in those. And also for the renewable energy, I believe a lot of the questions have been addressed. And this is again what we were also sort of listening the same points. You have definitely added a lot of the values and provided the clarity on the confusing points that we actually had yesterday. So thank you so much for that. So now, Dr. Khan, I believe we even have to continue with you further since today we will be talking about the MRV systems. I mean, and just to sort of give you, I believe, yes, most of the industries have now joined us. We have the whole participation back in. So even in the context of, I mean, what we actually wanted was just to sort of initially understand from you what is the MRV system, where do we currently stand? And what could be sort of its implication. So if you can just sort of just to that journey, that's again one of the very key and central pillars of our the whole discussion that will be happening today. So I believe with this, I'll just again come back to you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. I will continue with my presentation, and I hope my answers would definitely have added to the knowledge of the participants, and they would have certain questions that come to their mind should have been clarified. And if still their questions remain, I'll be more than happy to clarify more on these things. Now, moving towards the MRV. First of all, we need to understand what is the MRVs and why it is needed. And then what is I'll also just give you a flavor of the MRV mechanisms, or what is happening around the world, how they are doing so, and I won't be talking on behalf of any government entity about the current status or what would be the timelines and how quickly can they give or launch the MRV mechanism. However, I can just throw light about the readiness of different entities with regards to MRVs that I'll share with the participants. Now, going back to the basics. Basically, MRV stands for measurement, reporting, and verification. Measurement means whatever you are emitting, so whatever your claims you are making, you have to measure it with some tangible instruments, and those instruments has to be calibrated, refined, placed, connected with your central data system, and then your central data system should be collecting raw data from that facility. Just for example, for a power plant, if your river power plant is going on operating, you need to report the electricity generation from the source to that central point, that this is the number of gigawatt hours or megawatt hours being generated from that facility. Based upon the data, you have to prepare a report, and there are certain cycles for reporting under certain regulatory regimes. In different countries, they require monthly reporting. Some of them require quarterly reporting, and a couple of examples are there. They also require for annual reporting. So depending upon how the government feel like, you have to report that data. And once you submit these reports for claiming your carbon credits or emission reductions, the verification system that comes across, government at its end deputes the internal auditors who verify those claims and see if there are any hitches or any kind of data fudging or fraudulent practices are being involved, or there are some kind of a miscalculations or data accuracy issues. My apologies. However, in case if there is no any issue, they can verify those reports, and those reports can be then sent to your carbon credit registering entity, who can then report and depute an independent validator for verification of your claims. So this is basically how the measurement reporting verification system works. Internationally, globally, what they require is that your system should have a robust MRV system. It helps build the trust among the participants. It's a verifier or registrar or buyer or whosoever. It creates an overall nexus among the participants, market participants. Creates a credibility of your project, your program, your initiative, and it can help you unlocking different financing instruments. Of course, getting if you are registering your project as a carbon market project and you're having a very robust MRV, that will lead towards a very high quality project. Means you can have a very good price of your credit. You can earn very high price of your credit, and it is, of course, if your project is of high quality, it has multitude impacts on mitigation and adaptation efforts that you can claim while you will be reporting. So this is the key message. Usually, the financiers, the registrars, they usually gives to the project participants. From the climate financing context, the climate financing needs are increasing as the impacts of climate change are being faced by different countries. In COP29, it was indicated that this demand is now increasing $3.5 billion, and the requirement, because of the, if we talk about 1% GDP growth globally, needs scanning, the requirements will be 8.9 trillion per year by 2030. So in 2021, it was 1.3 trillion. It went to around 3.5 trillion in 24, and it is expected that by 2030 it will touch around $8 to $9 million. If we talk about how the public money is going across and how it's being financed so far, what we've heard, there is a pledge of 100 billion per year, which is the fraction of required investment, and these, because of that, in during the several meetings of SBA and even COP29. Sorry, I have a sore throat, and you have to bear with me with that. I'm really sorry for that. So because of that, now the entities are looking at the private sector involvement is very crucial, and those projects which mobilize the private sector investment are given more priority than any other project. However, there's certain barriers involved in it, like investor and donors, they demand assurances, they need some kind of a mechanism set in place. That basically indicate that whatever they're investing, whatever the achievement they make, these are real. Emission reductions are real. The impacts they are claiming, these are real. Why they're asking for? Because of the experience that the world gained during the era of CDM, that there were so much of claims, but nothing was impactful, and sometimes there were some double claims as well. Both the buyers and sellers, they were claiming the emission reductions, but eventually it was not the case. There were some leakages around those projects as well. That reduces the overall the confidence level and credibility of the overall program. And leading from there, now MRV is being considered as the primary tool that can help build the transparency and accountability. And this is introduced under the UNFCCC climate agreements and ensure the funds are used effectively for all the climate goals which are being claimed. As I was indicating, measurement is basically a monitoring mechanism that helps you collect the data on GHG emissions, mitigation actions, finance, like tons of CO2 reductions, number of trees planted, number of communities benefited, number of children, number of women that are participated in the program. So these are all the measurement tools which link to your project design. These all measurements you have to report in the reporting mechanism. You have to compile and present this information in a standardized formats. UNFCCC has its own formats for reporting and inventories. They have given the guidelines. In addition, these are not the Bible things. Every country can have their own mechanism for inventory making and reporting. However, the whole interest is that all this information should be made available for the stakeholders and the public openly and transparently, so that everybody can see all this information and can identify if there is any weaknesses and improve upon. And here the role of verification come across when independent review of the reported data is carried out to check the accuracy and reliability, and this helps improving the confidence in the results. A renewable energy project measures megawatt hour generated and CO2 avoided, reports to a registry like the weather registry, and an auditor verifies the emission reductions. And those auditors are usually deputed by the those standards, like we are going to register the project to VEDA. As we were discussing, these environment are very crucial, and this matter a lot because it can help you create accountability, trust. MRV brings transparency, good governance, and credibility. It helps you unlocking the financial measures, financial mechanisms, financial instruments are available all across the world. Likewise, if you're designing your carbon market project and you feel short of equity part, you can always have equity partnership for different climatic funds. Like even the GCF is willing to participate in certain private sector projects as an equity partner. Besides, if you are facing some issues in accessing the loan part of your project, the funding facilities like GCF or mitigation action facility or any other facility that has been created so far, they can contribute as either subordinate loan or a major loan facility to provide you the relevant required financing, and this help you commission your project, execute it, and take it to the next level. And that can be converted into carbon credits or results based payments. I'll give you an example. The most famous Article 6.2 project that's been undertaken in Bangkok, Switzerland, they got the credits and they procure the credits under Article 6.2 mechanism. However, in order to mature the project, the entity under the Switzerland, which is called IKI, they mobilize the climate financing for the pilots and the project design, proper project design and improved mechanism of that project, which were very instrumental in creating the confidence level of that project, as well as showing it as a very good transaction. The compliance, many climate funds and carbon market requires MRVs to disperse funding or credits, making an MRV a prerequisite for access. The MRV mechanisms, they also improve the decision-making process, both at the level of the project and as well as at the government. Governments use MRV data to identify what is the success rate of their policies, where are the gaps, if there are any policy regulatory gaps there, which are hindering the development of their projects, then through this mechanism they can improve upon that. Similarly, if they feel that they are falling short of some investments and there are some gaps which they were expecting that this amount will be coming because of the climate finance or carbon market mechanisms, they can help them improving and strengthening the climate finance strategies. So this MRV mechanism is very conducive for private sector, for the public, as well as for the international communities to look at how the projects can go along. Just to give you a flavor, how the readiness is being ensured with the global MRV frameworks and how these things are taken into account. As I indicated, there is the reporting is always hover around what you claim. Like if your project is indicating that this is the emission level and your project will avoid this much of emissions, then those emissions would have to be reported in an inventory, greenhouse gas inventory, and these inventories are to be established based upon the facility level emissions. And those facility level emissions can lead towards sectoral emissions that are coming from the government. Based upon that, the renewable energy capacity or clean energy projects or clean initiatives they have been undertaken that can help energy savings or forestation programs and overall cleaning the environment. And then the support, of course, international climate finance, national expenditure, technology transfer. Globally, the Paris Agreement transparency mechanisms is there. All countries have agreed that they will be regulatory reporting their emission progress and the biennial transparency reports. And this is under the enhanced transparency framework that has already been agreed among the parties under this Paris Agreement. So they have to, the governments have to establish this MRV mechanisms with the support of relevant stakeholders. And stakeholders have a real role to play, because without their involvement, the facility level emissions and data cannot be created, cannot be reported, and cannot be transferred. And these are very important mechanisms. MRV is very important for tracking the implementation of NDC targets, as one would be knowing that Pakistan assume a target that in 2021 NDC that by 2030 Pakistan will be reducing around 15% of emissions, projected emissions through its own interventions, whereas 35% will be reduced through with the support of international financing. The tracking mechanism goes more towards those unconditional claims that the government had made, because these are to be made out of own pockets. However, similar sets of principles also applicable to those interventions which are supported through international finances. Rather, sometimes international financing finance projects involve more robust MRV mechanisms as they become more stringent in some reporting channels. There are at least 3 types of MRV mechanisms. Number one is MRV for GHG emissions. I'm just saying these are at least 3. There could be more, but to my knowledge, there are 3 MRV mechanisms. The number one is reporting of GHG inventories at the national and sectoral level. This is the one kind of MRV where the country reports that how much emissions are being emitted from each mitigation sector. The second type is MRV for mitigation actions, like the policies, the projects, and the GHG co-benefits. Similarly, if the carbon market projects are being executed, then MRV for carbon market projects will also be needed. so that we can report the claims of those, monitor the claims and report the claims and verify the claims of those carbon market projects. And third mechanism is MRV for support. This basically uh, more tilted towards the finance, technology transfer, and capacity building flows that come across to the countries. And some experts they call it as a mechanism that helps in uh, transparently describing the activities that different countries are doing jointly under Article 6.8, which calls it non-market mechanisms. Uh, some standards and tools like IPC guidelines, ISO standards, UNFCCC MRV methodologies, EU emission trading, they all require and restrict that MRV rules, standards, and tools. They should ensure data integrity. So this is the global framework requirements for the readiness of overall sector readiness for developing an established MRV mechanism within the country that helps linking to the international climate finance and carbon market mechanisms. And the typical example, usually the MRV systems are linked to the climate strategy of the government. In Pakistan, though we do not have a climate finance strategy announced, however, and we also do not have a very dedicated climate strategy, but we have a climate change policy and climate change act that requires establishment of national and MRV system. And with that, we have to report the emissions globally in terms of the BTR as well as GHG inventory. Pakistan has been reporting to UNFCCC the GHG emission inventory. The latest inventory has been submitted in 2024. This requires, of course, domestic planning, decision making, but at the same time, it builds international trust and help improving the international climate finance. A country with strong MRV capacity can better plan how to absorb the climate finance, which carbon market instrument is better for that country, whether they should go for the voluntary carbon market, whether they should go for the compliance market, or they opt for Article 6.2 or 6.4, which sectors they would love to promote under the climate financing, which donor they would like to track more. This all improves based upon this MRV mechanisms. In addition, it also trusts for the donors and investors as MRV system increases trust between donors and recipients, translating into more stable and increased financial flows. It helps in strategic planning at the national level and of course at the regional level as well. But that help promoting receiving the financing, achieving the required results. Then, if there are any gaps in policies, in priorities, in goals, mechanisms that that the government is missing, or if there would be a more ambitious approach to look at, then that means if we can enhance our ambition and DC targets. So this all can incorporate as a result of robust MRV mechanisms. And compliance requirements, of course, is there, meeting MRV requirements for funds like GCF, multilateral banks. These all require the MRV mechanisms. Just to give an example, Zambia and other developing countries are setting up their climate finance MRV platforms to track which funding source has given how much money and how much money that has been floated to the community or the project that was designed for that fund, and what is the eventual outcomes and benefit of those projects. So this gives an overarching picture of the overall program that's been running by the government. just to give you examples that how the countries have marketed these MRV mechanisms for driving the investments. First example, I will quote based upon the energy projects under the CDM, the Kyoto Protocol mechanism. The projects were developed, they earned credits and reduced based upon the rigorous MRV mechanisms. Globally, as a result, more than 8,000 CDM projects have mobilized around $360 billion, and mostly in the private sector. And those projects, they sold their verified emission reductions, and the robust MRV methodologies for those projects made this possible. Just to give example of wind farm in India, they measured the generated clean power, calculated emissions avoided, reported to UNFCCC. The independent verifiers confirmed it, and then carbon credits were issued. Those carbon credits were then sold, and those investors, based upon the robust MRV mechanisms, got a very good high price of the credit that was leveraging 4 to 9 times more than private investor for dollar of carbon finance in the some cases. So this is the benefit of the robust mechanism, that you can get higher price of your carbon credit if you have a robust mechanism established. I'll give you another example from the agriculture sector. There was food system account for around 31% of the global emissions. Rice cultivation alone, it has a very high impact. It is around it has been noted that it is contributing about 8 to 14% of emissions, largely methane. The requirement of emissions from the agriculture require a very accurate and very robust MRV mechanism, and right at the farm level. That means each and every farm. And if I give an example of Pakistan, where there we have a large number of population who are owning only certain 1 or 2 or 3 acres. That means these MRV mechanisms have to go down to that level. And if you look at the agriculture, it's really a complex MRV mechanisms where millions of small producers, and with diverse practices, they have to be integrated. There are data gaps and technical capacities which are major hurdles in overall MRV mechanisms. There are certain initiatives been undertaken to improve the agri-based MRVs. There are some platform being devised. There have been tools some been executed. Like in Fiji, a new MRV system has been established to integrate into the national transparency framework, and that system is looking at rice and livestock, and it's a very dedicated MRV system. And because of the better MRV, they are linking it with the climate finance and getting very huge sum of money in terms of climate finance coming to the agriculture sector. That means it can help unlock your climate finance for farmers, and you can also look at integrating different business model like result-based funding for low methane rice or sustainable practices. And you can also look at the donors that are coming into the system to verify the outcomes, like the yield improvements, emission cuts, before you disperse the funds. It had the core benefits like food security, resilient grains, investment in climate smart agriculture. These all are the core benefit of these MRV tools and mechanisms that are associated with the agriculture sector specifically. Now, looking at how the forestry sectors look at, RED Plus and other climate funding mechanisms, these are very important to be taken into account. We have been talking about the forestry cover. We are talking about increasing the green cover in the country. We have initiated the billion tree project. We have initiated the 10 billion tree projects. We are looking for more projects, preserving the national reserves on the forestry side, enhancing the cover as well. So how this is linked for an MRV mechanism, I'll just explain you there. Brazil, they have an Amazon fund. It has a very robust forest monitoring mechanism, and they monitor the project through satellite-based MRVs. and they has very robust JS mapping of that, they which enable them to to uh, to gauge how much forest cover has been increased within a specific time frame, and based upon that they are running a very comprehensive result based payment deal with Norway, and Norway is paying that thing. Norway has paid so far 1 billion after the Brazil achieved 75% reduction in Amazon. So this is a very comprehensive project mechanism that has already been taken due to a combined effort of Brazil and Norway. Brazil's forest supply system measured annual forest loss. Reports were verified internationally. They confirmed that 3.2 billion tons of CO2 emissions were avoided over a decade. And this MRV anchored development that just led a, created a trust between the Norway and Brazil, and it's led to one of the largest pay for performance climate finance programs. The Amazon Fund become a model for the countries, and of course, in Indonesia and Guyana, they have looked at this for further replication, and Pakistan can also look at these kind of models. In the forestry sector, credible MRV for emission reductions, of course, is very critical to monetize ecosystem services and attract climate finance and carbon market as well. Under the transport sector, yeah, again, this is another area we to look at. Quantifying emissions cut from the transportation projects like the public transit systems, the mass transit systems, vehicle efficiencies. We have been talking about the hybrid vehicles. We are talking about the electric vehicle buses. We have been talking about the biogas buses. So these all require specific methodologies to measuring the fuel saved ridership, and there are numerous MRV tools and methods available in the different mechanisms, including the UNS tools, where you can put out the MRV mechanisms. I'll give you an example. Like in Mexico, they developed a Metrobus BRT system, and it was first of its kind project within Mexico. They earned the carbon finance, and by using the MRV, the city measured reduced car trips and fuel use, and based upon that, they reported CO2 emission reductions, which were verified by independent validator. So this is a very important thing, and we can also look at. Though I have been propagating that we, in certain cases, have missed the boat, like we could not market the Orange Line, the BRTs, the mass transit system, which we have created in different cities of Pakistan. But we can also look at in future if we would love to do more mass transit projects. I'll give you another example. For Indonesia, they developed a demand management NAMA in Jakarta with an MRV system to track reduce the congestions within those segments where the traffic flow is not continuous, and because of that, they were hoping that there will be emission reductions. And from the policies like car license plate restrictions and other things, they were able to do so, and they collected the data, and they justified all this through this very robust MRU mechanism, and then scale it up as a sustainable transport mechanism. This helped them mobilizing the finance and getting the project online. That means with MRV data, cities can tap climate finance, they can get grants, loans, carbon credits for transit projects as well. Donors like JAF, development banks, urban transport, they can fund their urban transport systems for similar kind of business models. So key message would be that even in data heavy sectors like transport, effective MRU frameworks make mitigation outcomes visible and bankable. I'll quote an example of Ghana here. Ghana CAR project, which is Climate Ambition Reporting Program, is a very comprehensive emission monitoring system program integrating GHG inventories, mitigation actions, and climate finance support into one single framework. It seems to be very simple while we talk about, but it is really a very complex subject. However, the project has successfully been implemented. It has aligned with climate reporting with national development, monitoring, and evaluation systems. There are three important elements add to it. It measures emission reductions from the projects and the policies. It tracks the climate support provided in terms of finance, technology, capacity buildings, and associated actions. And it also tracks the sustainable development benefits and co-benefits that are achieved based upon those projects or programs or policies. With that, the outcome is they enable the climate finance institutionalizing through MRV system that was now set up as all across related ministries, including finance. And Ghana has improved readiness to access the funds. The Ministry of Finance, which is a champion in this case, is now becoming a quotable example around the globe that is tracking the whole investment and outcomes through this tool and identifying where funding is coming from and how it is being used. As a result, Ghana is a best practice example in developing countries. It integrated MRV, help track support, climate finance, carbon markets, and also boost investors' confidence. That's now coming to Ghana. The lesson for us is that a whole of government MRV approach ensures climate finance readiness. It connects the dots from finance inputs to emission outcomes and development impacts. And this is the way we have to choose to go forward. Data is very important for this overall MRV mechanism. And this MRV system can only deliver the results if the data is robustly being provided. And what have been the impacts? We have seen some examples. We have noted that a lot of investment has been mobilized as a result of some strong MRV mechanisms. Projects under robust MRV carbon market systems leveraging billions of dollars, like $360 billion plus they were mobilized under the CDM carbon markets. 75% of deforestation cut with MRV enabled payments. More than 1,700 participants in MRV training programs. And there's a lot of statistics involved around it. MRV for adaptation have also been reported. They have focused on emerging adaptation activities and benefits and tracking their resilience matrices. And this is an area where not much funding has gone. 7% still has gone to adaptation side, and even this fund is being carefully tracked, monitored, and it's now becoming scaled up now. There are certain steps to be taken for establishing a MRV mechanism, starting from establishing institutions, define their roles, how the data will be collected, how will it be reported, coordination mechanism across the sectors. This is the whole, the cascade or canvas has to be set in place to have a very robust institutional arrangement. Then we have to develop MRV methodologies linking to the international practices, guidelines. Of course, we can customize based upon the local conditions and national context. We have already been doing tier 1 emission monitoring. This is the third reporting we have done for the GHG inventories. And all these inventories have been reported on tier 1 basis. And as the time is now lapping, we can improve our capacity to switch over to tier 2 and tier 3 type of the GHG inventory mechanisms. We have to build the data infrastructure, and this is an area where currently we are struggling. But the Ministry of Climate Change and related entities, they are making their efforts to create a databases or platforms to gather the data and track climate finance. Capacity building is very important element. We have to train the local staff, stakeholders on data collection. I give you an example. In China, when they were working on the carbon markets, they started with the voluntary participation of the stakeholders in 2009, so that they can start showing the data of their emissions. However, for next 2 to 3 years, the success was not very much. This led to a very comprehensive capacity building exercise the knowledge sharing awareness, as well as they also created a regulatory regime that enabled that the data is provided through a regulation. What we can do is we can pilot and scale. We can start on a more priority sectors like GCIS is currently working on the agriculture sector. We can complete that thing, then we can replicate this thing to other sectors like the energy sector, waste sector, and the industrial sector. And then we have to have a very robust verification process to set up internal validation and arrange for third-party verification periodically. So these are the 6 steps we need to look at once we practically implement the MRE systems within the country. There are some challenges and solutions I've jotted down. The challenges, of course, as we are talking about data availability, data quality. These are there are some data lags, data gaps issues in farmer sectors like small farmers to access the data from there. It's always a very challenging situation. However, we have to use the proxies initially, improve the data collection networks, employ technology like remote centers. We are now venturing into IoT based technologies. There are some digital MRV system already been established in different parts of the world. We can take benefit of those technological interventions to improve upon the data quality issues. Technical capacity, yeah, there are limitations within the government, federal and provincial. There are limitations within the private sector as well. We have to build that capacity. We need to train the programs, training the international experts. User-friendly tools have to be deployed so that we can create a nexus between the source of the data towards the data center where the data is to be deposited. There are some funding constraints as well, because every system requires a huge sum of investment. It is not very simple that you should just put up a measuring device and start flowing the data. It doesn't like that way. It requires, of course, soft tools. It requires hard tools. It requires some data storage, then transformation, transmission, and central connectivity, internet, IT-based solutions. So we have to integrate MRV project into the budgets and seek readiness support, like from the GCF or any other funding sources, so that those fundings can come across and we can build our capacity internally. And there we have seen that the institutional coordination has so far been very weak. I have myself have been involved in this NDC preparation processes. In recent development, we have been trying to gather the data from the provincial entities. However, there are some issues because some people work in silos. They don't want to share the data. They keep the data within themselves. The private sector have their own priorities. They have their own challenges. They don't want to make the data publicly made available. So we have to, in order to solve all these issues, we have to create a mandate for MRVs. We need to bring in the laws, policies to clarify what are the responsibilities. Need to create the coordination mechanisms. We need to ensure that data is being shared. As we can take the example from Ghana, how they get it implemented. The last challenge is to ensure the longevity, because MRV cannot considered as a short-term or medium-term project. It's a never-ending project. It's a never-ending activity, but rather it's a recurring activity. We have to continuously do it to keep gathering the data. As like we do gathering the temperature data, we keep gathering the precipitation data, and this is for like we have to get the data for the long term. And one of a project, we cannot go by a project-based option. Rather, we have to look at the national and regional based approach, where MRE systems are embedded into the international systems. They are connected with the statistics. They are connected with the planning, connected with the related ministries, and demonstrate value of how it can implement mechanism all across. So practical and actionable item that comes across in my mind is MRV might sound technical, but it's a practical. tool that empowers countries and projects, and it can help climate goals, carbon market mechanisms, and the financing tools to not only mobilize but come into a shape where it can be measurable. It can be measured in a very cohesive way. It's basically a key enabler for carbon markets, for climate finance, even for the local people, for those where the project is being executed, for those marginalized people where who might be displaced due to a project, like if you're putting up hydro project and those people are residing at this those lands, they have to be displaced, how they will be compensated, how they are benefited as a result of the project outcomes. This all have to be recorded, and because of that, if this is done, then of course this improves the overall credibility of the program, and it enables a climate investment by assuring every dollar leads to a quantifiable climate benefit. The takeaway is investing in NMRV capacity today means unlocking greater climate finance for tomorrow. And it is about creating a virtuous cycle, measure results, build trust, mobilize funding, and achieve bigger results. My call to action to the government, to the NGOs, to the private sector, the actors who are currently sitting with us, we all should collaborate. We should all work together to strengthen the MRV systems across every sector in which we are working. We should work transparently together. We share the information. We make this MRV system readily available, because this will enable us and position us to capitalize on emerging climate finance opportunities under Article 6, carbon markets, volunteer markets, green bonds, result-based finance. The goal that I can put before you guys is that we should pitch for, and we should raise voice for, advocate for a transparent, data-driven approach where climate actions are practically and transparently linked to finance. This will help accelerating the progress toward our shared climate targets. And since being Pakistani, we can see we are one of the most vulnerable countries. Most of us would have seen the calamities of those people who are basically in the remote areas, how they are struggling with these climate changes. This year, the city Jacobabad, they are recorded as one of the most hottest places in the world again. Temperatures touching more than 53 degrees centigrades, where the brains boiled, how the people are living there, and how we can make life easy for them with certain mechanisms and tools that implemented for those communities, and then report it amicably to the system so that we can tap in more climate finance for those people. Yeah, let's work together to embrace carbon markets in Pakistan. This is end of my presentation. I'm really thankful to all of you for listening me. And there's some sources available from where you can get more information, more data on all these mechanisms. And if you have any questions, you can ask me, and I'm more than happy to respond.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Irfan, for such an extremely insightful and technical session, and the overall journey you've taken to just sort of starting from the very basics of the MRVs to going into its fundamental as well as the technical concepts, and taking the approach of taking us through different case studies that have been practiced both nationally as well as internationally. That was extremely insightful to look into. And I believe a couple of cases did come, similar cases did come yesterday when we were discussing some potential projects in those sectors and how they can actually be taken forward. So it's really insightful to hear on those. And thank you for the last two sessions, particularly in highlighting the steps that need to be sort of taken. And the challenges that we really need to sort of collectively oversee. And I believe definitely while the MRV's highly important significance generally comes in the face when you talk about how important they are for ensuring the climate finance readiness of Pakistan. So that's something that's really, really extremely important. So thank you so much, Dr. Irfan. Just we do have a couple of questions. I'll just be picking up the ones that are particularly focusing on MRVs. As for the rest, I'll be requesting the colleagues to sort of respond to them in the chat form. But I'll be combining a few of the questions, won't be reading each one. But I believe there are three questions which I'm combining that are regarding the small and medium enterprises or the small scale projects. So just to sort of sum up, given Pakistan's financial constraints and the limited technical capacity that you also sort of talked about, especially in the SMEs, how can MRV systems be designed or adapted to accurately and cost effectively quantify emission reductions for distributed rooftop solar and any SME-led renewable energy or energy efficiency projects, just to also ensure that their credible participation can also be done in the carbon markets. So, yeah, if Dr. Irfan, you would like to sort of respond
Yeah,
to this.
this is a very pertinent question, and as I indicated, uh, the financing is very important, and funding, and as I was indicating, this is not a simple subject. It requires a lot of money to channel it, and it is always difficult for small and medium enterprises to finance all that force. The I'll take example from India and China how they did the SMEs. They combine together. They come across to one table, and based upon their business models, they pooled up the money uh, and convert that money mechanism for broader range of participants. Like they were around 500 participants initially, and then they increased to 2,000 within 6 months, and now they're now hundreds of thousands of participants with that mechanism, and they jointly established that mechanism, and because of that, the cost of establishing that MRV mechanism was divided among those 500 or 2,000. And in order to further boost this technology up, they had the funding coming from the climate financing window, and they get it improved or made it very widely applicable for the sector. In the same pursuit, those SMEs, they already have a platform. Samida is a very good platform for the SMEs. Some the renowned names and who carry some voice as well. They can always approach Samida. They can talk about creating a combined effort wherein at least 400 to 500 SMEs can participate. But keeping in mind that the number can increase, you can always pull in some money to create some mechanism, and at the same time you can uh, design a project based upon your interventions and get it co-financed through different sources like uh, the finance facility, the the GCF or any other climate financing window that can help you to get the excess money. So this is one of the ways to take it forward.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Irfan. Just to sort of another two data from one Ministry of Energy colleagues, that is in around the double counting. If I can, just to sort of read it. How can MRV frameworks be improved to reduce the risk of over crediting or double counting, especially when scaling private sector investments under the Article 6.2 mechanism or in voluntary carbon markets? So, yeah, basically around
See,
this.
yeah, actually these are two different terminologies now in the carbon market. Number one is you're overestimating in your tools, and second is you're double counting the things. So I'll explain both of them separately. In order to do away with over estimation, uh, the now the world requires that you install facility scale level data reporting systems like digital meters at the source of electricity generation or at the source of emission from a thermal power plant. You get installed a gadget. From that gadget, the actual numbers are reported back to a central system, and that central system uh, report the very accurate number. The other important element is recalibration and keep that instrument alive according to the standards. And this calibration is usually done on periodically basis depending upon how the manufacturer they require to do so. You keep calibrating and you get the data and keep managing the data, so that you should not you do away with manual reporting or data fudging in every instance. So this is one of the way to manage the overestimates. You just report what is being produced through those gadgets and those materials. From the double counting point of view, yeah, double counting usually happens in case when either two entities or two countries, they are reporting the same results. So in that way, it is very important to have an MRV system, so that the facility is being registered as an emission production facility. Likewise, if I'm an investor of a marble factory, and my brother is also is doing the same business with me, and we have separate accounts, we are reporting the same thing. Of course, this will not work in MRV. We would have to create one account for that facility, and that facility will be reporting to the MRV. So in that way, a facility level double reporting can be avoided. For the country's standpoint, when we talk about the emission reductions, to avoid those, we usually the practice is that the carbon registries, they carry a very important role. If a project is being reported on the carbon registry of Pakistan, that registry has to be linked and interoperable with the registry of UNFCCC as well as relevant standards, so that there should not be a double counting at level. And if the carbon credits are transferred from one country to the other, then of course we have to make sure then our account, if the credits are transferred, then our account should not be replicating those emission reductions. So that way, the carbon registries can play a very vital role.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. And Dr. Irfan, and I believe the last, or perhaps just second last question, because there'll be around the forestry side. So I'll just be sort of combining all three of them. Yes. So I believe the first part is from the carbon catch colleagues, that is to how to validate, how can we validate the reduction on ground level in forestry sector projects? And I believe the second part would be just to sort of read it directly, how can digital MRV systems integrating remote sensing, smart sensors, and blockchain enhance the accuracy, transparency, and scalability of emission reduction, particularly in jurisdictional scale forestry programs? So yeah, I believe these are the questions from Art.
Okay, one thing to be very, we need to be very careful. I would like to say a word. We need to we very clearly note that the tools, these mechanisms, these gadgets, they are part and parcel of overall environment we are creating. They themselves don't help us reducing any emissions. This is our ambition. This is our project or the program that basically helps in reducing emissions. Likewise, if we're talking about forestry, and we are looking for an afforestation project. Afforestation means we are increasing the cover of the forest within the country. Let's if we have 5.4% currently, and we are looking for increasing to a 5.8%, that means this 0.4% of land area in Pakistan will be having a forest cover. And this is not a rocket science to gauge that. We have GIS applications, we can have satellite mapping, we can have at source data measurement tools, wherein we can calculate the number of trees installed. We can tag those new trees being planted, linked those tags to the digital MRV systems through AI platforms, and get it connected with our central database systems. So this can be done, and that has been done at various places around the globe. Similarly, if we are talking about conservation of the existing forest cover, this again follows the same pursuit. We need to show that the forest cover is not reduced, and to do that we have to apply all those technological applications. We have to depict that in this MRV2, the MRV mechanism. So this is the only way we can ensure that a green project under the REDS plus scheme or afforestation scheme is basically increasing the forest cover. The other thing I would like to clarify, uh, the forest for nature-based solutions, these projects, these are termed as carbon. Uh, uh, they capture the carbon because of the increased carbon share, or sorry, increased forest share, and the new trees planted, they of course they help reducing the carbon emission, and they consume the carbon existing on the environment. These are not avoidance projects, these are carbon removal projects, these are called. And because of this scenario, they are regarded more more important for the planet, for the society, for the country. And these projects, if are executed, the important element is that basically what is the project design and how you are managing that design based upon the technological interventions. Then how you are measuring those increased plantations. Those plantations have to be kept in mind, that how much these are uh, net for the life which have been claimed. Likewise, if we're talking about the planting of pine trees in Sawat region, how many pine trees they have been grown, how much they have sustained, how long they have so far. So this all has to be reported, and data has to be maintained in this regard.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Irfan. And so sorry, apologies, just the last one. Just because I believe that we're getting too many questions, but I'll just take the last, and I'll be combining the questions from combined from Dr. Sarah, Dr. Shamaila, and that's all of them are basically just sort of trying to get an understanding that in the whole carbon market space, in the whole process that we do for the data collection, is there any space where academia or these research institutions can be engaged in the overall carbon market development space? So yeah, speaking a bit also to the academic stakeholders that we do have in the session as well. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, academia, they are backbone of this overall stream, because uh, uh, in Pakistan, this is unfortunate for us that the research, the in-depth research environment is not created, and at the government level, and again this is unfortunate for us, at the government level we do not recognize research as a conducive element for our sustainable growth and future development. I have seen examples where the government has shut down certain research institutions, and it has diminished or curtailed the academic research and the industrial research initiatives, deeming that these are not producing any commercial results. Whereas linking research primarily uh, the financial research is never a conducive thing to do. Academia has a very robust role to play. Likewise, they can help the government in advising them what can be the best tools for its MRE systems, what are the best technologies, best mechanisms. They can help collecting the grassroots data from the on source data. Like I'll give an example. NUST, they supported under the World Bank program to collect uh, the biomass resource from the uh, uh, agriculture sector. So this is the manpower, the students available with the academia. They can depute to the fields, they can depute to the sites to collect the primary data, and then collect those primary data and report to that. Reporting mechanisms, reporting tools, they can help building localized IoT-based technological solutions. Though international platforms are available, but every platform, we cannot say that it's 100% can be made applicable for Pakistan. we would have to tailor it down for the countries and academic institutions. They can help under their advanced project streams to support in building those tools. Lastly, I have been raising flag for academia industrial linkages. There's an opportunity for academia to work with industries to help creating the data collection tools, designing the digital MRV systems with them, specific to their requirements, specific to their fuels, specific to their basic systems, and then, of course, implement those and integrating those to the center systems. I can quote a number of more examples where academia can play a very vital role. And of course, this MRV mechanism, they when they are mired for reporting element is very important. Academia can help collecting and reporting that, creates very conducive research reports. They publish those reports. They can publish the research papers, articles in the journals, and improve the credibility of overall mechanism. So there are a number of ways where academia can play a vital role.
Perfect. Thank you, and thank you so much once again, Dr. Irfan, for such a detailed presentation as well as the follow-up session. Definitely believe all of our participants here had a lot to learn from today, and thank you once again, because we also see that you're under a bit of a weather as well. So once again, thank you so much for joining us despite of that as well. So I believe with this, thank you so much, Dr. Irfan. We'll be moving towards the next section where we do have Ms. Salha, and the session was specifically arranged at this time because given the whole work that we have been doing yesterday, especially when there were a lot of cases coming around, like what are exactly the trends to watch in the carbon market industry, what are already some of the success stories that Pakistan has. So for this, I'll be requesting Ms. Salha Qureshi from SDPI. Salha is currently working as a senior research associate, but also leading SDPI's program on Pakistan industrial decarbonization as well. So I believe, Salha, you're with us, and with this, over to you. Thank you so much, everyone. Yes. Ji, Saleh, yes, you speak.
Okay. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. You just
Okay.
have to put your screen on the slide share.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think Obad on the registry and VERA registry system and their proposed methodology on that as well. And today, I think Dr. Irfan has very well elaborated all the the things that MRV should have, and also the that have been,
Saleh, I believe there's some internet issues coming at your end. I'm not sure if they're at my end. Hamza, if you can please check. I believe Saliha will be joining us very shortly. There were some internet issues at SDPI. I think Saliha is back. And yes, in the meanwhile, while Saliha is sort of sharing her presentation again, Saliha, please do share your presentation just to sort of respond to many of the questions that the people have. And yes, we will be sharing the recording of today's as well as yesterday's session with all of you. Along with the documents that we have received. And yes, hopefully within a day or two, you'll receive it along with this, along with all the details as well. So Saliha, are you with us?
Yes.
Perfect.
Am I
Now
audible?
it's clear. Yes,
Okay.
you're audible.
I think the trends that needs to be looked into when we are developing a carbon market project, that changed with developments by Vera and all the developments around the world. So not okay. Why we need the carbon market. So, before we dive into the trends and global examples, it's critical to establish that why carbon market is relevant in the context of Pakistan. Firstly, it is a cost-effective emission reduction, mechanism. It fund the renewable energy, reforestation, and clean transport as well. And the carbon market matters to Pakistan is because it simultaneously addresses the emissions, mobilizes finance, and also we deliver on some of on the SDGs as well. So this is the one of the ability of Pakistan that they able to tap into the mechanism that could fundamentally shift how we finances our development ambitions. So my screen is not moving. Trend number one is market expansion and scaling. As we know that Indonesia, India, Brazil, they are designing their compliance markets, and VCMs are projected to reach by 50 billion by 2030 because of the demand rising from the corporate sectors and from tech, aviation, and more countries are actually adding to this space. And it's not about we are looking for the forestation. It's about integrating their carbon into whole global value chain. So the trend number two, my screen is not moving. Yes. So the trend number two is Article 6 operationalization, internationally tradable mitigation outcomes. One country's NDC's ambitions could be transfers towards the other country's ambition, like their emission reduction, number can be transferred to the other. So more bilateral agreements have been done after the COP28, and Pakistan also pitching into that agreements as well with countries. So this is the a historic moment for the Pakistan that they enter into the into these deals, so they can offset into that and also receive financing and technology in return. So trend number three is integrity and standardization. As we talk about Integrity Council for Voluntary Carbon Market, it's a initiative that has been started in 2021, and it's aimed to to make a market that could make more MRV protocols accepted, and the issues can be transparent and more competitive. So here's the ICBCMA and the core carbon principles that are added in that ICBCMA principles are effective governance, tracking, transparency, additionality, and also the no double counting, so that the more credible carbon credit could be generated in the voluntary market as well. How ICBCMA is, beneficial in the context of Pakistan, because when we are adhering to the ICBCMA, we can build investor trust, access the premium prices, and we can establish our credibility in the global voluntary market as well. So I think that's the way we can, Pakistan could fully participate in that to benefit the ICBCMA standards for strategic opportunity and necessity. Trend number four is digital innovation. Digital tools like blockchain, satellites, Internet of Things are for the faster, credible carbon verification. As Dr. Irfan has mentioned, that while measuring the forestry projects, the GIS mapping GIS tool is used because it has a more credible way or technological tool that can measure the how much forest has been has been placed in a certain area or certain community. So that's a tool, GIS tool, that can be that calculate the accurate thing. So that's why the credits for the forestry are raised higher, because of the accurate mapping and accurate correction of the credible credits have been generated there. Trend number 5 is nature-based solution, as Dr. Irfan has mentioned. And when making a nature-based solution, there is a need for adding, several SDGs to make the project more credible, the price more higher. So that focuses on the mangroves, petlands, and reforestation, and it's a gender responsive, indigenous-led projects. These are gaining traction right now. And in Pakistan case, Delta Blue is a great example, which has more, inclusive approach, and projects empower the women or indigenous communities, and that's why they attract the higher credit pricing. Some of the examples, like the best practices so far we have in the context of carbon markets, we have EU ETS mature compliance market. EU emissions cover 40% of EU emissions, so they have reduced 30% of GHG since 2005, and the price of carbon was 90 euro per ton in 2024. So it's a powerful example that how pricing carbon change behavior and generates revenue for the climate transition. And Pakistan can learn how to structure a similar compliance system in that context as well. Colombia is another example. So what they have done, they have build just projects which governs the system. Pakistan followed this decentralized inclusive model to develop the local MRV and benefits the sharing system in the Colombian Ghana context as well. What are the implications if we talk about EU and Ghana for the Pakistan as well? So we are although in the process of making the carbon registry and MRV system. So to less the gap and to stand in the global carbon market, we should launch the awareness and capacity building programs. And also if we can prioritize the sectors, that would be a more beneficial approach to gain traction and to approach the low hanging fruits in that context as well. Vera has also added new projects and methodologies that can be, look into that. So what are the new trends that have been, added in the Vera is the rice cultivation methane reduction, which targets methane emission from paddy fields using alternative wetting and drying. So this is highly relevant in context of Pakistan because we have a lot of agriculture potential. So I think the rice cultivation and methane reduction are one of the avenues we Pakistan can pitch into. Also, the trend that Vera has added right now is biochar and soil carbon. So Pakistan dryland agriculture can explore the space as well, and we have so many examples on that as well. So what are the actions that Pakistan can take to encourage that market and to participate in that market? So we need rigorous methodologies. We should our projects should align with the SDGs, and our the project has a lot of emission reduction potential. So I think that's are the actions or the way forward for the Pakistan, that that how they can pitch into global carbon market, and their carbon market prices could be higher. One of the example that in the context of Pakistan is right now very much appealing is EV success story that we can take from the Thailand's approach, that they focused on EV taxi fleets in Bangkok and their direct GHG reduction from tailpipe emissions, and they created a local carbon crediting platform that aligned several SDGs. So they partner in this with the Switzerland on Article 6.2, and they transfer their credits in that context. So I think that's the way, because we are about to launch the EV policy. So if something could happen similar way in Pakistan, that could be a credible case in that context as well. So Pakistan could make a public transport electrification in the major cities where we have a lot of potential on that, and also develop MRV tool to private mobility, and incentivize the EV charging infrastructure, which can count toward renewable energy mitigation as well. Another example that could be, added in the context of Pakistan is clean cooking and rural electrification that has a lot of potential in context of Pakistan. And what Ghana has done, they have signed Article 6.2 cooperation with Switzerland, which focused on the clean cook stoves and solar mini grids in underserved communities. So this is, I think, strong example for decentralized community-based interventions, and which aligned a lot of SDGs and develop a national carbon registries to manage the internationally tradable mitigation outcomes. So Pakistan can, can make a case in the case of KP, GB. So we can, make a solar village programs in especially underserved communities where I think there is a lot of need for the clean cooking programs as well. Uh, Japan has energy efficient waste projects that can be replicated in the case of Pakistan as well. We can offer a model for upgrading textile and cement sector efficiency under the bilateral ITMOS deals. Switzerland has, have a wind energy project. So that has been, I think, discussed earlier. So Pakistan could inspire wind and solar ITMOS pilots in Sindh and South Punjab. And similarly, on the industrial decarbonization, there's an emerging partnership is focused on supporting emission reduction in Chile industrial energy sectors using Swedish financing. So this significance shows that the role of industrialized countries supporting low carbon transition in global South economies through high integrity most purchases. So Pakistan can guide, cement and other high emitting sectors under the CTBCM linked carbon credit generation. There are also a lot of good exampple on the Article 6 transactions. Colombia is setting RENARE, a national carbon registry, and establishing domestic legal and technical readiness for the both voluntary and compliance market is one of the way which Pakistan can build its own registry and builds its own infrastructure to offers a credible model for the globally and locally interested partners. Similar example with the waste management and agroforestry. These are the good examples. I think a lot of been discussed on the agroforestry. So there is a lot of potential in southern Punjab and KP, where biochar and solid waste are ideal projects in case of Pakistan. So one of the great examples, I think, Pakistan has established in the voluntary carbon market is Delta Blue Carbon, and it covers almost 350,000 hectares of area, and they added, a community-based model. So they employs local villagers in planting and monitoring the project, and their carbon credit price was that's why high, because when you're adding so many SDGs and when you're adding so many community level projects or community led initiatives, that then the carbon credit project price would be higher. So Pakistan can expand such type of projects in Balochistan coastline, which is underutilized, and similar restoration can increase forest cover and shoreline protection, and it can also integrate with the national disaster management authorities for the risk reduction strategy. Mangroves reduce cyclone impact, and also in that context, Pakistan can explore the bilateral funding with the countries that are investing in nature-based offsets, and like Japan or UAE or Germany. So I think that's the potential that Pakistan can look into that perspective as well. Also, KPK has a great billion tree tsunami example that they planted over 1 billion trees since 2014. So carbon credit readiness for KP is a good example. They could generate 140 million per year from the carbon credits, and these models can be use payments for ecosystem services with local communities, so that when the ownership of the community and when the needs of the community are meeting with a lot of SDGs, so the credit price or the carbon credit price is higher. So that's a great potential in the case of Pakistan. One of the example from the Punjab is Lahore Methane Capture Project. They have developed Lakhtor landfill and Mahmood Bhuti landfill development project. So it's a first G2G Article 6 pilot project in Pakistan, and as Pakistan is on the 7th number in the methane emission, so it captures the methane from landfill, and this can be used for the energy for energy avoid GHG emissions. And methane as we know that it's more potent than CO2, so it's a great potential in that context as well. So that's landfill covers or reduces a lot of methane reduction in that perspective as well. On the Mahmood Bhuti landfill redevelopment project, they are transitioning this into a solar energy park and urban forest as well. So this is registered under VM0013 landfill gas project methodology, afforestation, reforestation, and revegetation methodology as well. So key opportunities in that perspective as well, that public-private partnerships with the cities, third-party MRV platforms have been used for IoT sensors for methane, and building such projects under a municipal carbon program for the replicability could be the way forward for Pakistan. As a lot of discussion that yesterday on the registry of carbon markets. So there are some of the examples from the Colombia, Indonesia, that how they have developed the carbon registry. They have different approach, like how they initiate the approval letter and what are the standards they follow, and then who is the authority that approve that, and what would be the final fate for the carbon registry as well. So looking into these good examples, I think Pakistan is almost in the process of making the registry. So we should apply some similar approach from the best approaches that the globally we have. So firstly, we should look into a legal framework that under the regulation of Climate Change Act and energy efficiency framework that authorizes registry development and sets rule for different entities that have been involved in Article 6 readiness. We can designate a lead institution, assign in that context as well. And then after the institutional and legal setup, we can go into the infrastructure design that establish the central registry that allow the credit issuance, trading, retirement, and public access for transparency. We can add international standards in it that accept the credit verified under VERA, gold standards, and climate action data or other organizations with that as well, and enable Article 6 compatibility that include tagging for the ITMOs, include corresponding adjustment functionality in that as well. And after the infrastructure design, there is a third phase that is in implementing and scaling, the most important phase. This phase in the registry could ensure MRV compatibility with the ISO standards, GHG protocols, and that develop a local accredited verifies that build national MRV portal integrated with the registry. We can launch the pilot projects as in the country context. I have wrote down the cement and textile renewables, agroforestry, but there are a lot or more projects that are in that context as well. We can engage the right stakeholders, like the private sector is so much interested in developing such projects or participate benefiting that projects, international buyers, and also build the capacity of all the relevant stakeholders that are part of the value chain as well. And then we can enable a domestic internationally trading, framework to for CSR, tax offset, or ESG, to prepare for future linking with global carbon markets. And then finally, establish an oversight committee that with the independent experts that could, conduct periodic third-party audits for the registry functioning at the final stages. So these are, some of the registry approaches that Pakistan could adapt by looking into the globally best shared registry developments so far. Finally, when we look into that, the conclusion of the overall, trends and the success story when looking into that. So I think Pakistan could leverage and take good, suggestion and examples from the proven models that we have, like Delta Blue, KPK Forests, Lahore Methane, to build a pipeline of credible projects. That's the way forward for the in the context of Pakistan. And we are about to, create a national carbon registry. That's a a thumbs up approach for that. And of course, engaging a private sector and banks to finance climate smart investment is a true scalable intervention in that context, and invest in MRV system, digital monitoring, and skilled project developers. And from strategic bilateral deals, it could be, more with the relevant countries who have interest in these projects, which are, in best for the Pakistan context as well. So I think that's the way forward. And if you have any question, please let me know.
Yes, thank you so much, Saleha, for taking us to such a wonderful overview of all that is happening, sharing all the key trends, these success stories from across the region. That was really extremely insightful. So yes, if anyone has any questions, please do drop them in the chat box. And just in the meanwhile, just to sort of, because we're just at the very end of the workshop, and we just sort of saved a very important announcement for you that we have been working on this booklet for carbon markets in Pakistan, in which all of what we have been discussed since the past 2 days, as well as what we have been working on for the past 1.5 years. That is sort of a booklet on how to sort of trade in the carbon markets. That is sort of brief, very easy to understandable document that will be launching very shortly. I believe it should be out on SDPI's website in a couple of days. And just to sort of give you a very quick overview of what the document contains, I believe it will just take a couple of minutes. So for which, let me sort of very quickly invite Nisma to sort of shed the light before I go to Shakib Saab for the final vote of thanks of the conference. So Nisma, if you can just sort of share the screen and show what the booklet is about, and from there we can take it up. Thank you, sir.
Yes. So as Abed already mentioned, we've been working on developing this booklet. It's a very brief booklet, and the main idea was just to gather all the information that we have in one place and just to form something that is easy to understand from a beginner's perspective. So sorry. It's
no
not
worries,
on.
no worries, no worries.
I didn't realize
Nothing to worry
that.
about.
Okay, so this booklet itself, it starts with the basics, a little explanation of what carbon markets are, how they work, why they matter. We've particularly included an easy to understand definition section for all the key terms that come up when talking about carbon markets. So terms such as additionality, permanence, vintage, credits, offsets, and so on are explained there just for an easier understanding. Then the guidebook gradually builds up to include more practical insights like the different types of markets, the available trading mechanisms, such as the Article 6 mechanism or how an emissions trading system works. We've also included the step-by-step life cycle of a carbon project. So it is easy to understand the various processes that are sort of essential to go through while preparing a project for participation in carbon markets. And we've also talked about their estimated timelines and some other requirements there as well. Then I think the question that has come up the most amongst people who are somewhat aware of carbon markets is how do we improve the value of our projects to get a better price for the credits that are generated against it. So we have also explored some features of high quality projects and the parameters that can be included to enhance the project's credibility, especially in the eyes of different standards or like verifiers. And we have also explored some recent trends such as digital MRV, which I think Dr. Irfan and Saleha both have discussed in detail today as well. Then I think most importantly, we have added a complete section there on the local context. So providing details specifically on the different routes you can take as a project developer in Pakistan. So this also includes the complete process that we know so far to engage with the Article 6 market through the MOCC. And yeah, so hopefully you'll find answers to many of your questions there. And if you're a complete beginner on the topic, it would be a good starting point for you to sort of build a stronger understanding. So as Ubaid already said, we'll be launching the booklet soon in maybe like a week or so. So stay tuned. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Nisma, and really looking forward as soon as it is out. Hopefully, just like Nisma mentioned, in a week's time, we will be sending all those who are with us for the workshop. Hopefully in a week's time, and will also be it would be available on SDPI's website as well as SDPI's LinkedIn channel. So do join us. If anyone wants a hard copy, they can always reach out to SDPI and we'll be sending them. So from my end, I believe thank you so much for the 2 wonderful days. Has been really engaging session and really learned a lot from all the experts yesterday, as well as Dr. Irfan Yusuf. That was a wonderful session today as well. But I believe we're already 5 minutes over time. So let me come to Shakib Ilahi Saab. Shakib Saab is a senior advisor at SDPI for the final vote of thanks from SDPI. So Shakib Saab, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope I can be heard. Thank you very much for the time and whatever I could catch on to the discussion. Very intense, very thought-provocative, and most importantly, setting a roadmap in an area which is very new to this part of the world, very new to Pakistan, and definitely this booklet is going to be very critical in improving and understanding all that we need to, the way we need to go forward and engage this concept of carbon markets. Having said that, I wish to thank all the participants on behalf of SDPI and myself for a fantastic overview, and we look forward to similar discussions in the future. And thank you very much. Excellent work, SDPI team, all of you, fantastic, and thank you very much, everyone, for participating. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Khuda Hafiz. Bye-bye.